This United Nations Declaration Bill doesn't give us anything new, but it recognizes, it acknowledges, and affirms our rights under international law. And our Assembly of First Nations has called for adoption of federal implementation legislation to ensure that we can move forward in a collaborative, coordinated way to put the United Nations Declaration into practice. So in the days and weeks ahead, First Nations chiefs will be looking very closely at this bill. The implementation of the Declaration is very important to all our people, and we want to make sure that the implementation legislation adopted by Parliament will be as strong as possible. This implementation legislation will not change Canadian laws and policies overnight, but it will establish a framework for moving ahead in a collaborative, coordinated, and consistent way. There's one concern I have about the bill, that it gives too long a deadline for creating an action plan. We've waited too long already. We don't want to wait for another 3 years. And before the bill is adopted into law, we also want clarity on which government department will take the lead on this crucial initiative. And because it's so important, we would like to see a commitment to a periodic review, which is something any good legislation should include.
This is an important step toward ending discrimination against Indigenous peoples through the recognition of our distinct status and rights, as well as their universal application. It marks a positive departure from the past position of segregating our human rights into an imagined separate underclass of rights. Just consider that federal, provincial, and territorial governments have all passed human rights legislation affirming the human rights of individual Canadians, and that provide recourse and remedy through human rights tribunals and commissions for individuals whose rights have been violated. That has not existed, or it has not existed in the fullest nature possible for Indigenous peoples' rights in this country.
This is not going to take jobs. It's not going to take away industry. It's not going to affect business in a negative way. In fact, it's going to increase the opportunity of clarity between our governments to sit down with industry. When a mining operation comes into play, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes 10 years, 15 years of all the investors and those that buy stocks into those businesses to come and develop this particular mine in a certain area of natural resource. So now it's very clear how we go about doing it together. And we, of course, will always work towards environment and employment. So I think when you look at it from that context, there's less fear now from industry. We spoke to the mining community, we speak to industry from oil and gas, and you look across the nation. So the fear that was being portrayed as being the boogeyman is falling apart. Whoever was trying to use that as a political tool, now they have very little short grass to hide in because it's not real.